Ella Cinema, created by she, her. How we doing out there? Good, great, grand, and yan. Hey, yand. Wonderful. As you see on your screen, your dial, Whiskey Mountain. Whiskey Mountain. We are limping to the finish line for the 7th installment. The 7-parter that we embarked on here at Ella Cinema. The worst podcast in the history of podcasts. The worst. The absolute worst. I don't even want to be here right now. I like the film, but Jesus. I like to do other things. Oh my goodness. Yeah, 7th film in the Bill Grafé collection. He Came from the Swamp. Arrow Video presents He Came from the Swamp, the William Grafé collection. For someone who didn't, when I cracked this open, I was like, oh man, I just need to balance myself out with, like, you know, the reason why I go to cinema. Like, what did I just watch that was so good? Oh, The French Dispatch. I like The French Dispatch, the new Wes Anderson one. I got to watch films like that remind me of why I like going to the cinema. And I would prefer, on some level, to talk. I mean, it would just be nicer to talk about these films, the William Grafé collection, these films with someone, as opposed to, you know, spinning your yarn by yourself. I'm only saying that because it's the 7th one and I don't want to be here. I'm just being a negative Nancy. I apologize. Because if I'm not excited about it, then why would you be? But I am, though. I think I've told you on every, all six leading up to this, I put it on going, this is going to be crap. And on some level, yes, of course, you know, it's a low-budget regional film. It's a regional film that didn't get, you know, fucking Universal and Paramount and shit type of release. But there's still, like, enjoyable popcorn flicks. Like, even my chick was popping her head up from time to time and being like, that's hilarious. We're like, isn't it? That's so fucking funny. You want to know what's not hilarious? It's fucking 7 minutes of go-go dancing. Now, I must say, it was nice on Whiskey Mountain that we didn't have a 5-minute long fucking go-go dance sequence that made me all of a sudden feel racist in my heart for whatever reason. So, let's get to it. The 7-parter, the 7th installment of the William Grafé collection. Sheer terror, I tell you. Killer sharks and human jellyfish and living mummies, oh my. Arrow Video is proud to present the first ever collection of works by William Wild Bill Grafé, the maverick filmmaker who braved the deep, dark depths of the Florida Everglades to deliver some of the most outrageous exploitation fare ever to go dance its way across drive-in screens. Read this 7 times and you think I would have got it right, but I still can't. I'm such a stupid idiot. Worst podcast ever. Still can't even read it without stumbling through it. Because I'm trash. Bringing together 7 of Grafé's most outlandish movies, plus a feature-length documentary on the filmmaker's career, He Came from the Swamp, the William Grafé collection, packs in a menacing menagerie of demented jellyfish men. Sting of death, if you listen to the first installment. Yes, Jellyfish Man. It's so fun. I thought. Zombified Witch Doctors, another good one, which was The Death Curse of Tartu. Homicidal Hippies with the Hook Generation, and Seductive Matrons with the Naked Zoo. Not to mention the ubiquitous Go-Go Dancing. Yeah, we heard you. To create one of the most wildly entertaining box sets of all time. And you know what? Did not disappoint. And we went out with a bang with Whiskey Mountain. Went out with a bang with it. So Whiskey Mountain came out in 1977. Very fucking grindhouse feel to it. And starts out with like a 4-minute motocross sequence. Because, you know, when we're going with the credits in a Bill Grafé film, they're going to be kind of long. And we're going to drive home the point of why this is going to be useful later in the film. Which, of course, I'm not going to spoil anything for you because, again, turn me around. just like Bill Grafé turned me around, or in this case, the screenplay by Nicholas Spanos and William Grafé turned me around at the end. Thought it's now 2 for sure, which I believe The Naked Zoo, and this one where the ending, I mean, all of the endings just have this very blunt force trauma that you're like, oh shit. And Whiskey Mountain was no different. So what is A Little Whiskey Mountain, 1977 American exploitation horror film? I guess it's kind of a horror film, I guess. Directed by William Grafé, starring Christopher George, Christopher George, Preston Pierce, Roberta Collins, Linda Borgenson, William Grafé regular John Davis Chandler, and I must say, John Davis Chandler, I loved his acting in this and his character turn from, we'll just say, fucking bumfuck nowhere hillbilly into entrepreneur. Entrepreneur will be. 2 couples, Bill and Diana, Dan and Jamie, travel into the rural mountains of North Carolina on a motorcycling trip. Wait a minute, let's read listen to all these bonus features and stuff. Hold on one second. Whiskey Mountain sees a group of young people set off into the wilderness on a treasure hunt, only to find themselves menaced by a gang of unhinged backwood drug dealers. All right, well, I guess that whole character turn that I was talking about, John Davis Chandler, well, there you go. 2K restoration of Whiskey Mountain, extended cut of They Came from the Swamp, the films of William Grafé. 2-hour, just in the life of William Grafé, which was a nice bonus feature on here. Uncompressed audio for commentary with William Grafé. He did it solo this time. The ones previous, we had Frank Henenlotter on there, which was awesome for a fucking piece of garbage nerd like me. And so anyway, I believe it's Diana that has a grandpapa who had some guns stored back from the olden days. In the olden times, I believe, like Civil War guns that may be worth a lot of money. And they intend to search the region for a number of antique Civil War rifles, which Diana has a familiar connection to, having ancestors from the region. The rifles are believed to be concealed in a cave on Whiskey Mountain. While stopping at a general store, well, hold on, let's get there. So it's they go on a little treasure hunt, and they bring their bikes to go on the mountain, hence the 4.5 minute fucking motocross sequence in the beginning. And that's a good hook for me in terms of, like if you're seeing a film like this and going into it, it's kind of, well, I didn't know anything going into it. I looked at the cover, because when you're obligated to do it, fuck it. Like, why am I about to find out? Fuck around and find out, Quote Hunter. Fuck around and find out. And it just looked bananas. And it was. And just so hilarious that back in the day, this was 1977, that a film like this could be rated PG, and it's not that it's overly violent and you see tons of blood or anything like that, which you do see a little blood, but some of the darker shit. So like in their travels across the treasure hunt, they come across an old man. Who's the old man? Robert Leslie, who earlier in the film, so they're camping out. They've embarked on their adventure to find the Civil War guns. I just watched Civil War with my chick, the Captain America Civil War. That's just a pretty decent film. Side note to the Civil War. Anyway, the Civil War sucked. The actual Civil War, that was terrible. But so they're camping out, and I believe it's Jamie. She gets her panties stolen during the night because, of course, as they're camping out, we've already has blown that they come across some drug dealers. Well, there's a mysterious figure that lurks about when they're camping out overnight in the backwoods, and her panties get stolen. First of all, they don't leave. Like your panties just don't go missing. Like the bear doesn't just come and grab the panties and take off. The animal doesn't take a little whiff, take a little sniff, and fucking just take off with the panties. That's not how that works. But they press on, which it's a movie, Sean. Yeah, I got it. But I don't know. Like for a movie being rated PG. And having the panties stolen, we'll get there. We'll circle back to the old man. But they press on. They continue on. They come to another cabin where this is where the old man dwells. And hilarious enough, when they meet the old man, Bill, Diana, Dan, and Jamie, they walk into the cabin because this is white people shit, and it's the fucking 70s. All the doors unlocked. Well, we'll just wait for someone to get home or whatever. And one of the girls goes upstairs, and this creepy old man, again played by Robert Leslie, just starts hooting and hollering. She's screaming, he's screaming, and this is uncomfortable. Well, the men, like with a nod and a wink and a nod, befriend this old man. But get this is after they find the panties of Jamie on his person. And my brain went, what? And even if you are, okay, so like the whole friendship thing, like, it's not big friends. But even after that, so after you find the panties, which was a scene, like the Jamie during that scene is like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what? Like, why are you just throwing away my concern for where my panties went? And now later you find this old man who has them, and you befriend him so that you can find the fish so that you can feed yourself while you're in the backwood mountains. It's okay that he took the panties. I don't know. PG movie, rated PG, and B, my brain just went, wow, you can't be friends with him ever. He stole the panties. It's so fun. Anyway. So, they befriend him. Even with a nod and a wink, I still think that's outlandish. You can't do that. It's wrong. If for nothing else, your girl's honor, even if that's toxic thinking. He stole your panties. So all right, get off of it, Sean. They finally get to the cave. Where the guns are supposed to be hidden. And what did they find? Well, not the guns. I should back up a bit. The first drugstore that the only drugstore in this bumfuck hick town where they're traveling to, of course they get harassed, because they're city slicker queers, or whatever they said, some racist fucking shit that they were hippie fucking city folk don't know nothing about being in the backwoods here. Well, you see John Davis Chandler for the first time. As Rudy, but you don't know him as Rudy just yet. But very backwoods. Seems to be the mastermind of the hooligans that were hanging out in the convenience store that all of a sudden just go out and start creeping out a sleeping Jamie in the car. And, they're fucking pressing their face against the window of the car and just making whatever, just being uncomfortable, being backwood uncomfortable, like, oh, you never seen a car before, as you sit at the gas station, you fuck. I'm sorry, I hate hillbillies, all of them. They're the worst. I would put up with anything else other than the unintelligent hillbilly. Ugh. Anyway, where were we? Yeah, the drugstore comes up because you see fucking Rudy for the first time, John Davis Chandler, who is playing a bit dumb. Now, fast forward to the cave where they're supposed to be finding the guns, and what they find, fucking garbage bags full of weed. Tons of fucking weed. And then a voice coming from the darkness of the cave, which says, "Get out or I'll kill you." That's what it was. So they leave, and wouldn't you know it, the gang of hoodlums that we saw earlier at the convenience store now hold all four captive. And John Davis Chandler is now very, I don't want to say soft-spoken, but very smooth talking, very intelligent talking, as he was not at the drugstore. And I thought that turn, but more importantly, seeing a different side of John Davis Chandler, who we've seen in previous films, William Grefé films, which kind of has, 2 or 3 films specifically, a redundant quality where he's kind of an idiot, whereas now he's fucking a mastermind. He's drug running out of these bumfuck hills. And I liked it. I was like, oh, shit. And it gave it some credence. Like, the not that Christopher George, Preston Pierce, Roberta Collins, and Linda Borgeson weren't good on their own. They were, especially, like, what the film is. Like, it doesn't require a whole lot of dialogue. I think there's this, everything has to have this Tarantino fucking Aaron Sorkin rhythm to it, and with an abundance of words, and that's not always the case. In fact, I think it makes it more eerie more often than not if there's less dialogue. Now, not all the time. It depends on what the fucking story is. But here, I felt like the actors weren't given enough, because we have two or three very similar scenes in terms of, like, should we go on? Yes, we should go on. Is everybody sure? Yes, we're all sure. Have a convincing or 2 scene. Hence the panties. And 2 different cabin hideouts. I believe 2 different cabins that they get to. And now they're held captive. Another remind me of the Hook generation in terms of how it was shot, and the banter between the captors and the captees. Which was fine, like, for what the movie's supposed to be, is what it is. And we'll just, I can tell you a little bit, can I? I can, just a little bit, right? While camping overnight, the 4 are unknowingly watched by an unseen figure. In the morning, they're woken to find their... Oh, yeah, I forgot about the campsite. They got just set on fire, and they don't leave. They go, oh, we must have not snuffed out the campfire. And I believe it's Bill that's like, no, I'm pretty sure I snuffed that motherfucker out last night. Like, 100%. I was the last one up, and I killed the fire. And they're like, well, obviously you didn't, because you just set half the forest on fire. Which, a lot of the fire looked real, and I was kind of like, old school filmmaking, just burned down 25 trees for the sake of a film. Can't do that anymore. What was that movie? Sorry, just a kind of left turn here. Oh, Angelina Jolie was in it. I think Sheridan wrote the script. Tyler Sheridan. Oh, Those Who Wish Me Dead. There's a sequence in that where literally an entire forest is burning, and while because of what it looked like, it kind of was distracting to me and detracted away from the film as a whole. And I feel like a piece of shit for saying that, because you can't because it lacked realism, I was like, oh, it kind of takes me out of the film. And then I'm sitting over here going, well, you can't set a forest on fire, so maybe you should be a little bit more forgiving. And to this very moment, as I'm considering it, I still don't know how I feel about it. Like, on the one hand, it's like, well, yeah, but if I'm gonna go, ugh, you have to, one, find a way to shoot it where I don't go, ugh, if it's gonna be all CG, because you can't burn down a forest, or you just don't need to do that scene. Now, for this particular movie, Those Who Wish Me Dead, you kind of had to, like, she was a fucking, like, it fit, it was a part of her character and everything, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, kind of took it out of me. Well, rewind to 1977 for Whiskey Mountain, and we set, if I wasn't going to exaggerate, and I'm just going to eyeball 10 trees on fire. That's not good. That's not okay. For sake of film. But again, I can't, as I've aforementioned, I'm not going to hold a film from 1977 and say it's, and trash it because it lacks 2021 values. That's, one, you're going to take yourself out of a film every single time if you go back and you watch something from the 50s or 60s and you're like, oh my God, why isn't this film woke enough? It's because it's the fucking 50s and 60s, dude. I think in Psychedelic Priest, which was the 4th or 5th installment of this William Grefé collection, there is one line that is so blatantly racist that it hurt my soul to hear out loud. Would you like me to recollect that line? I'm paraphrasing now, but I believe the female lead in that, when discussing her hitchhiking horror stories, said that she got picked up, she got raped, she got pregnant, and luckily she was able to have an abortion, I believe. And she says the line, I don't know what I would have done if it was a colored baby. I was like, what the fuck? But I can't, it would be unfair to me if I'm going to, and I don't, what I'm about to say, if I'm going to call myself a critic, I don't. I know that this is what this show comes across as, but it's more promotion and just having fun. I'm not a critic. I know nothing. I'm not a smart person. If you want to have an hour and a half to 2 hours of fun, I'm going to tell you how. That's what this show's for. But it would be unfair of me to be like, oh, well, Whiskey Mountain's trash because you fucking set 10 trees on fire. So anyway. But it also enhanced the scene. I was like, oh shit, fucking whole campfire's on fire. They didn't do it. I know they didn't do it. That fucking goddamn mysterious figure lurking upon the woods. He did it. There's a couple twists in this film. I can't believe I forgot about the forest fire. That's definitely in my notes, too. After a series of other near mishaps, the group... Oh, yeah, what about the crossing of the... Because I'm not going to tell you the end, because, again, I think the last few... And I've said it on the show before. You can... If the premise is just kind of weak on its own, or at least I have watched a premise similar to this enough times, man versus nature is nothing new, right? So if I'm going to watch something like this, you can make up for an entire film with a few frames. I know, easy to please for me, just a few frames. You can and you do it in this. So I won't tell you about that, but I will. We'll spoil a couple things and another thing too, you got to consider this, some of the big things that I'm telling you, for instance, with the fire, are all practical. They really set, some trees on fire. Just like this sequence where they get to a point in their travels where they have to cross some raging rapids, and they got bikes now. They got their motocross bikes now, and they got 4 of them now. You can't... it's hard to, even in a controlled setting, which a lot of Bill Grefé's films, they didn't have the necessary, and nor did the 70s in general, but definitely on smaller budget films like this, the safety was not perhaps up to snuff as it would be nowadays. And even less so because it was a regional film without money. Bill Grefé said, we're grabbing this camera and we're filming some shit. And you either need to be down for the challenge or you can't be in this film, So, not that anything was overly crazy in this rapid sequence and transferring the bikes over via a raft and a pulley system, which to, add... credence to the villain. Of course, the villain cuts the pulley while there's people on it. Now, back to the practicality, there's really actors and a motocross bike on a raft that is trying to be pushed away by the rapids. This is this is real. This is not CG, green screen, the Rock and Disney type stuff. This is the hard nitty-gritty without a whole lot of safety considered in some of these moments, and which is another fun thing to watch. I do think on some level, if we're just talking maybe a nature thing or specifically in hand-to-hand combat, I really just wish that we would step it up in the States and lessen some of the restrictions and, maybe look at China, even though I know China's taboo right now in the entertainment industry, but look at China and at least how they do those particular sequences. There are people that would get hit, which would sell. What are you talking about, Sean? Well, sell the effects, sell the practicalness, and there's people that could take a punch or two, as they do in some of the Asian countries. Anyway, Whiskey Mountain. Stumble upon weed instead of guns. What will happen? What will happen? I'll tell you this. I will tell you this. Not all of them make it out alive. And I think it will surprise you in how the last 20 or so minutes go. If you are not convinced or sold by the 7, I've done now 7 episodes to promote the He Came from the Swamp, the William Grefé collection from Arrow Video, packed to the gills, baby, with bonus features, packed to the gills. I think I said it, I can't remember on one of the shows, but nowadays, at least how people watch films, I think this has so much on it, it would take you a good, if you're not a psychopath like me, you have 2 months of entertainment with this. A month for sure of entertainment with this. If you went through the bonus features, more than a month. But if you were to, fun, dark and fun. If you do not want to, get the physical for $50, $60 or whatever it is, you need more convincing outside of me babbling about it. Well, all of these films are on Tubi, Tubi, and if you don't want to spend how about ArrowPlayer? You can do ArrowPlayer. It's like $10 a month. Do the ArrowPlayer, and you can watch all of these films and the bonus features if you're not into the whole physical media thing. But I can't do that. Something about that makes me uncomfortable. Watch it like, I just bought the special edition digital. No, if it's a special edition, I want to hold that motherfucker. So as we come to a close, I can tell you this box set is a lot of fun, mate. A lot of fun. But they're on Tubi and the ArrowPlayer if you don't do the physical media thing. He Came from the Swamp, the William Grefé collection, closing with Whiskey Mountain. And don't forget the documentary, They Came from the Swamp, which is about Bill Grefé's career. Arrow Video, He Came from the Swamp, the William Grefé collection, bruh. Worst podcast in the history of podcasts.